Hello friends, this is Dr. P. Hariprasad again sharing with you some important considerations on dihybrid cross ratio for the better understanding of the concepts of Mendelism. I begin with typical Mendelian dihybrid cross and the ratios of this cross. This is the parental cross in which homozygous yellow colored seeds, round seeded plant is crossed with a plant with green seeds and wrinkled seeds. These are the F1 progeny. F1 progeny are heterozygotes. They are phenotypically yellow round. Now this symbolizes F1 into F1 cross or F1 selfing. These are the F2 progeny. There are 4 types of phenotypes: yellow round, yellow wrinkled, green round, green wrinkled, in 9:3:3:1 ratio. Therefore, this 9:3:3:1 is a phenotypic ratio of Mendelian dihybrid cross. And this is the genotypic ratio in Mendelian dihybrid cross: 1, 2, 2, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1. This is genotypic ratio. There are, of course, 9 types of genotypes in the F2 progeny of dihybrid cross and only 4 phenotypes in the F2 progeny of the dihybrid cross. Well, these two ratios are obtainable under certain conditions. The conditions in which these two ratios are obtainable are: number 1, the two factors, namely capital Y and capital R, should be located on different chromosomes, not on the same chromosome, to show independent assortment. The second condition, each of these factors should be showing normal dominance. They should not be in incomplete dominance or in codominance. And condition number 3, we should be trying these ratios in a large sample to avoid random fluctuations seen with the small samples. If you are trying in a small sample, there can be a very random fluctuation. You may not get this ratio. That can be one reason. And of course, there is a universal understanding that gamete formation and gametic meetings are chance-based. This, of course, is the case that gives rise to 9:3:3:1 ratio or a genotypic ratio of 1:2:4, 1:2, 1:1. Now, let us switch over to some questions on these conditions. What if these conditions are not maintained? What if these conditions are not available? Which means some deviations in Mendel's dihybrid cross ratios. I'll take you to another screen share. These are the questions. I'll just read these questions. These are, of course, related to dihybrid cross ratio, but very, very relevant to the conditions under which we obtain dihybrid cross ratio. Question number 1. What is the ratio in a dihybrid cross in which one factor shows normal dominance and the other factor shows incomplete dominance? This means of the two factors, remember that dihybrid cross is also called two-factor cross. We are focusing on 2 different genes. If one of the factors shows normal dominance and if the other factor shows incomplete dominance, what ratio do we get? This I will answer a little later. Let us first complete reading these questions. Question number 2. What is the ratio in a dihybrid cross in which both factors show incomplete dominance? What if both the factors under focus are showing incomplete dominance? What ratio do we get? This also I will answer a little later. And question number 3. What could be the inference if we don't get 9331 ratio in a dihybrid cross. What if we conducted a dihybrid cross in a large sample, yet we did not end up in 9331 ratio, but instead we got a different ratio? What will be the reading, or what will be the inference from that kind of a deviation? And question number 4. What causes the appearance of Mendelian recombinants? There are two Mendelian recombinants in 9331 ratio. 3 and 3 are Mendelian recombinants, 9 and 1 are parentals. What is the cause for the appearance of Mendelian recombinants? Or is it possible that there can be absence of Mendelian recombinants? And what if there are no recombinants in a dihybrid cross? What is the reading? What is the inference? That is the fourth question. Now I will take up each of these questions one by one and answer these questions. The first question first. Now this is the first question, and the answer for the first question is also given ready-made. I'll read the question once again. Dihybrid cross in which one factor shows normal dominance, the other factor shows incomplete dominance. We get a ratio that is like this: 3:6:3:1:2:1, not 9331. This is a deviation. Now these are the parentals: homozygous dominant parent and recessive parent. Now these are the F1 progeny. F1 progeny, we all know, are double heterozygotes. Now F1 into F1 will give us F2 progeny. This is the dihybrid ratio that we should get in a dihybrid cross in which one factor shows normal dominance, the other factor shows incomplete dominance. How is this possible? Now let us understand that factor A shows normal dominance and factor B shows incomplete dominance. And the factor A monohybrid F2 ratio is this. For factor A, capital A small a into capital A small a, this is monohybrid F1 into F1 for factor A. The phenotypic ratio is 3:1 because factor A shows normal dominance. Now switch to factor B. Capital B small b into capital B small b. This is F1 into F1 monohybrid cross, B factor cross. But remember, factor B shows incomplete dominance. In incomplete dominance, the F2 monohybrid ratio is not 3:1. It is 1:2:1. There is no difference between phenotypic ratio and genotypic ratio in incomplete dominance. Both are same. The phenotypic ratio in a monohybrid cross in F2 generation is 1:2:1. And now how do we get this ratio? This is F2 dihybrid phenotypic ratio. These two are monohybrid F2 phenotypic ratios. 3:1 for factor A monohybrid phenotypic ratio showing normal dominance. And for factor B, monohybrid F2 phenotypic ratio showing incomplete dominance, the ratio is 1:2:1. Now, this ratio is the product of these two monohybrid ratios. The dihybrid F2 phenotypic ratio is, after all, a product of the monohybrid phenotypic ratios for factor A and for factor B. This into this. The product of monohybrid ratios is 3:6:3:1:2:1. This 3 into this, we get 3:6:3, and this 1 into this ratio 1:1. Therefore, in a dihybrid cross in which one factor shows normal dominance and the other factor shows incomplete dominance, we end up with a ratio that is 3:6:3:1:2:1, not the 9:3:3:1. This is one deviation from Mendel's dihybrid cross ratio of 9:3:3:1. And we will switch over to the next question, which also constitutes a deviation from 9:3:3:1 ratio. I'll take you to the next share. This is the question and explanation. Dihybrid cross in which both factors show incomplete dominance. In the previous question, we discussed a situation in which one factor shows normal dominance, the other factor shows incomplete dominance. But this is at another deviation in which this also, of course, is a dihybrid cross in which one factor shows, both factors show the incomplete dominance. Now, these are the parentals. This is the F1 hybrid, double heterozygote. This is another F1 hybrid, double heterozygote, F1 into F1 to get F2 progeny. This is the ratio that we should get in a dihybrid cross in which both factors show incomplete dominance. 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 1. F2 dihybrid ratio in a dihybrid cross if both factors under focus exhibit incomplete dominance. How is this possible? Now look at the monohybrid ratios in F2 progeny. A factor exhibiting incomplete dominance, F2 monohybrid ratio is 1:2:1. Similarly, B factor which also shows incomplete dominance, the F2 monohybrid ratio is 1:2:1. Now the F2 dihybrid ratio is a product of these two monohybrid ratios. The product of monohybrid ratios is this one. 1 multiplying this ratio with the first one, 1, 2, 1, and multiply this ratio with 2, 2, 4, 2, multiply this ratio with this one, 1, 2, 1. 9 types of phenotypes, 1, 2, 1, 2, 4, 2, 1, 2, 1. Now this is the answer for that question. A dihybrid cross involving two factors, both of which are showing incomplete dominance. We will now move over to another question, the third question. I will take you to a new screen. What could it mean if we do not get 9:3:1 ratio in a dihybrid cross? What does it mean? What is the inference? We have conducted a dihybrid cross in a large enough sample, in a large enough Mendelian population. And then we are expected to get this dihybrid ratio 9:3:1, yet we did not get it. What could be the reason, cause, or what could it mean if we don't get 9:3:1 ratio? There are different possibilities. The first possibility and the most likely possibility, it could be most likely due to linkage. That is, the two genes or factors, capital Y, small y, capital R, small r, are located on the same chromosome, which means in this case we get more parentals and fewer recombinants. We may get recombinants, and if we do get recombinants, even if the two factors are linked, such recombinants are not called Mendelian recombinants, they are called gene recombinations. Gene recombinations are caused due to crossing over. Crossing over is a cytological phenomenon which occurs during Pachytene stage of meiosis 1. And this crossing over results in at another type of recombination called gene recombination. Well, the first possibility that if you don't end up with 9:3:1 ratio is that these two factors under consideration are probably located on the same chromosome, in which case we get more proportion of parentals, fewer recombinants. And these recombinants, in case of two linked genes, are named as gene recombinants, and they are produced, of course, due to crossing over. The second possibility is that it could be due to presence of incomplete dominance in one or both factors, just as we have discussed a little earlier, that one factor shows complete dominance, the other factor shows incomplete dominance. We get a ratio of 3:6:3:1:1. And that is a deviation from 9331. If we do get that ratio, then we have to infer that it is due to incomplete dominance in one of the two factors. The third possibility is that it could be due to a small sample size. That is, the ratio obtained, the ratio is obtained based on counts in very few F2 progeny. If you take the ratio, if you take the count from a small sample, a sample consisting of very few F2 progeny, there could be random fluctuation in small samples. You may not get exactly the expected result because of the very small sample size. So sample size is one important consideration in obtaining Mendelian dihybrid ratio. It's not possible to get the 9331 ratio if your sample size, the ratio, if the ratio is tested in a very small sample. It is possible you could get any other ratio, not just 9331. That is a possibility. So these are the possibilities. Number one, it could be due to linkage. Number two, it could be due to incomplete dominance in one or both factors. Number three, maybe you are testing your dihybrid cross ratio in a very small sample, in very few F2 progeny. As a matter of fact, Mendel tested these ratios in thousands of F2 progeny. The sample size was quite large. So as the sample size increases, you can get the observed values very close to expected values, particularly in chance-based events. So we have to be trying these ratios in very large samples. Now that's the answer for the third question. What could it mean if we don't get 9331 ratio in a dihybrid cross? And the last question. What causes the appearance of Mendelian recombinants? What if recombinants are absent in a dihybrid cross? Well, the first question first. There are two parts in the question. I will answer the first part first. What causes the appearance of Mendelian recombinants? I told you already, of the four phenotypes, two phenotypes are Mendelian recombinants, 3 and 3 are Mendelian recombinants. What is the cause for the appearance of these Mendelian recombinants? The answer is independent segregation of the pairs of homologous chromosomes in anaphase 1 of meiosis causes the appearance of Mendelian recombinants. Independent assortment, independent segregation. Segregation means separations. The paired chromosomes in zygote stage, they get separated in anaphase 1. And when this separation occurs, this separation of course is called segregation. When this separation occurs, the separation of one pair of homologous chromosomes is independent of the separation of another pair of homologous chromosomes. And this is called independent segregation. This independent segregation or disjunction occurs in anaphase 1 of meiosis. And this event which occurs in anaphase 1 is the cause for appearance of Mendelian recombinants. We'll go to the second part of the question. What if recombinants are absent in a dihybrid cross? If you end up only with parentals and there are no recombinants, what does that mean? Absence of recombinants in a dihybrid cross indicates complete linkage. That is, the two genes under consideration are located on the same chromosome and they are close enough to prevent any crossing over. If the two genes under focus in a dihybrid cross are located on the same chromosome and that they are placed very close to each other such that any crossing over is not possible, then you get only parental types. You don't get recombinants. You get recombinants either by anaphasic segregation in which case the recombinants are called Mendelian recombinants. Or if you are testing linked genes located on the same chromosome, you could still get recombinants, and these recombinants are possible due to crossing over. Crossing over, we all know, occurs in Pachytene stage. So crossing over results in gene recombinations, and the anaphasic segregation results in Mendelian recombination. So the answer for the second part of the question is that it is possible that there are no recombinants in a dihybrid cross, only parentals appeared due to complete linkage of the two factors, which means the two factors are located on the same chromosome and they are very, very closely located on the same chromosome, preventing any crossing over possibility. Well, that's all for this session, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next session, at another session with at another interesting topic. Thanks to all of you.
Please subscribe for more videos. For any doubts, please WhatsApp to my number 98491 38961. Thank you.